Hey guys, so I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk about Halloween. I just want to talk about the real meaning behind it and like all the things that actually happened and the history behind it. Because like I was just like thinking about Halloween and everything, and I remember that before I was Christian, before I turned Christian, we used to celebrate it. It would be like our favorite holiday in the whole year for me and my family. We used to love watching scary movies. We used to love dressing up. That was everything to us. We would spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, a bunch of money spent on Halloween decorations, on the costumes, and just on everything on the holiday. My mom would have all the decoration outside. She would always put decoration in her house, like the pumpkins, the skeletons, the little tombs, like everything. And we would always dress up. Like I remember ever since we were little, my mom would dress us up with little costumes, angels, princesses, like everything. And it was for us at the time, like obviously we didn't know the meaning behind Halloween and everything. We didn't know the truth. So like obviously we did it because we were just ignorant. We didn't know that we shouldn't do that, like the real meaning behind it. But that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I just want to inform anyone who doesn't know the real meaning behind it and everything. And from like my perspective as somebody who used to be like in the world and celebrate Halloween and all of that, like as somebody who used to celebrate it and now doesn't celebrate it, I just want to explain why I don't celebrate it anymore and why you shouldn't participate in it either in any form or shape, because there's like some really dark spiritual stuff behind that. So I just want to explain that. I have a little pamphlet because in my church the other night they start giving like these little pamphlets that just like this little thing, and it just explains everything. So it's in Spanish, but I'll like translate and I'll explain, but I will say like in Spanish real quick, like everything that it says for people who speak Spanish, but I will say it in English. I will try to translate and like just you know, like explain it in English. So just give me a minute. I'm gonna do the Spanish version and then I'll explain in English as well. So it says, ¿te parece muy inocente el Halloween? Entonces conoce su origen. Origen del Halloween. Aproximadamente 300 años antes del nacimiento de Cristo, los celtas vivieron en las islas británicas, Escandinavia y Europa occidental. Eran una sociedad como cualquiera de las de hoy, pero sus usos y costumbres fueron controlados por una sociedad de sacerdotes paganos llamada los druidas. Ellos adoraban y servían a Samhain, dios de la muerte. Cada año, el 31 de octubre, los druidas celebraban la víspera del año nuevo céltico en honor de su dios Samhain. Las raíces paganas de la celebración se atribuyen a la celebración celta de Samhain, del culto a los muertos. Se trata de una tradición anterior a la invasión de los romanos 46 a.C. en las Islas Británicas, enmarcada en la religión de los druidas en Inglaterra, Francia, Alemania y en los países célticos. Si bien se sabe poco de estas celebraciones, parece que las festividades del Samhain se celebran muy posiblemente entre el 5 y el 7 de noviembre, a la mitad del equinoccio de verano y el solsticio de invierno, con una serie de festividades que duraban una semana, finalizando con la fiesta de los muertos, que daban inicio al año nuevo celta. Los celtos creían que esta noche la frontera entre vivos y muertos era borrosa. Para celebrar este evento, los druidas encendían enormes hogueras donde quemaban cultivos y animales como sacrificio a sus dioses. Además, los celtas usaban disfraces en su mayoría hechos con cabezas y pieles de animales para ahuyentar a los fantasmas. En esta fiesta, los druidas, a manera de mediums, se comunicaban con sus antepasados esperando ser guiados en esta vida hacia la inmortalidad. Los druidas creían que en esa noche, en particular, los espíritus de los muertos regresaban a sus antiguos hogares para visitar a los vivos. Y si los vivos no proveían comida a estos espíritus malignos, toda clase de cosas terribles podrían ocurrirles. Si los espíritus malignos no recibían un festín, treat, entonces ellos harían travesuras malas a los vivos, trick. Entonces es el significado de trick or treat. Trick or treat, treta o trato, origen del dulce o travesura. Los sacerdotes druidas iban de casa en casa exigiendo alimentos y en algunos casos niños y vírgenes para ofrendar en sacrificio a su dios Samhain en el Festival de la Muerte. Si se los daban, se hacía un trato, treat, y se iban en paz. Si la gente de la aldea no daba a los druidas el alimento o persona que exigían, se lanzaba una maldición sobre la casa entera y según ella, alguien de esa familia moriría ese año. Esa era la trampa o treta, trick. Jack-o'-lantern, la calabaza que simboliza Halloween. Los druidas llevaban con ellos un nabo grande, el cual habían ahuecado en el interior, con una cara tallada en el frente para representar el espíritu demoníaco del que recibían su poder y conocimiento mismo, que se encargaría de ejecutar toda maldición e iluminar su camino. Este espíritu se llama espíritu familiar. El nabo encendido por una vela dentro era una linterna para los druidas por la noche. Ellos llamaron Yok al espíritu de la linterna. Cuando estas prácticas llegaron a Norteamérica en los siglos XVIII y XIX, los colonizadores hallaron que los nabos no eran tan grandes, así que los sustituyeron por calabazas. Desde entonces a esta figura representativa del Halloween se le llamó Jock, el que vive en la linterna, y después vino a ser Jack-o'-lantern o linterna de Jack. ¿Cómo entraron estas fiestas a la tradición cristiana? Cuando Constantino se convirtió en emperador de Roma, dictó una ley que declaraba el cristianismo como la religión oficial del Estado. Constantino exigió como emperador que cada uno se hiciese cristiano o enfrentará la pena de muerte. Alrededor del año 609 se transforma el panteón del templo pagano dedicado a todos los dioses, a la iglesia cristiana dedicada a la Virgen y a los mártires cristianos. La tradición celta entró con mayor fuerza en el siglo eh, 23, creo. El siglo una B y tres líneas. No estoy segura si es 23, creo que sí. Cuando la Iglesia romana estableció el 1 de noviembre como el Día de Todos los Santos, en inglés All Saints Day, y anteriormente All Hallows Day, de donde deriva posteriormente la palabra Halloween, que proviene de All Hallows Eve, que significa precisamente Noche de Todos los Santos. Sin embargo, esta tradición europea se difundió más por todo el mundo a través de Estados Unidos con el desarrollo tecnológico. Desde el siglo IBE, no estoy segura qué número que es eso, pero bueno, IBE. La iglesia de Siria consagraba un día a festejar a todos los mártires. 3 siglos más tarde, el Papa Bonifacio IB 615 transformó un templo romano dedicado a todos los dioses, panteón, en un templo cristiano dedicándolo a todos los santos, a todos aquellos que nos habían precedido en la fe. La fiesta en honor de todos los santos inicialmente se celebra el 13 de mayo, fue traspasada por el Papa Gregorio III, 741, al 1 de noviembre, día de la dedicación de la capilla de todos los santos en la Basílica de San Pedro en Roma. Más tarde, en el año 840, el Papa Gregorio IV ordenó que la fiesta de todos los santos se celebrara universalmente. Como fiesta mayor, tuvo su vigilia solemne 31 de octubre. Esta vigilia fue llamada por los ingleses All Hallows Even, vigilia de todos los santos. Aquí encuentra su origen el término Halloween. Por otro lado, ya desde el año 998, San Odilon, abad del monasterio de Cluny, en el sur de Francia, había añadido la celebración el 2 de noviembre como una fiesta para orar por las almas de los fieles que habían fallecido, por lo cual fue llamada Fiesta de los eh, Fieles Difuntos, la cual se difundió en Francia y luego en toda Europa. Las iglesias fueron inundadas con los paganos no convertidos. Eran paganos forzados a integrarse a la Iglesia Católica o perder sus vidas por desafiar al emperador. Los recién agregados traían todas sus prácticas e ideas paganas a la Iglesia, incluyendo el festival de Samhain, y exigieron que este festival siguiera siendo parte de sus vidas, puesto que la Iglesia había fracasado en eliminar las prácticas paganas de la gente. Decidió usar a su modo algunas de ellas, especialmente este ritual del 31 de octubre. Tener su festival el 31 de octubre porque el 1 de noviembre era un día santo. En el siglo IX, el Papa, el Papa instituyó un nuevo día para ser celebrado por la Iglesia el 1 de noviembre, llamándolo Día de Todos los Santos, o Hallows Day. Este día celebra a todos los mártires y santos de la Iglesia Católica y el 31 de octubre se convirtió en su víspera. Ahora la gente podría tener su festival el 31 de octubre porque el 1 de noviembre era un día santo. La cultura popular llamó a la celebración el All Hallowmas y con el paso del tiempo a la tarde anterior al 1 de noviembre se le conoció como All Hallowmas Eve, evolucionando poco a poco como All Hallows Eve, All Hallowed Eve, All Hallow In, All Hallow In Evening y finalmente Halloween. Pero nada cambió, la observancia pagana continuó el 31 de octubre y el día de fiesta cristiano fue observado el 1 de noviembre. La gente no celebró sus ritos y adoración paganos ah, a los demonios para esta nueva víspera establecida por la Iglesia. La festividad de Halloween fue introducida en Estados Unidos por los primeros inmigrantes irlandeses, pueblo de origen celta. En ese país se popularizó y se extendió rápidamente al resto del mundo, convertido además en un lucrativo negocio. Tolerancia al satanismo. Como se podrá apreciar, no hay nada de simpático en este tipo de celebraciones en las cuales se pretende involucrar masivamente a los niños, seguramente con el propósito de desarrollar en ellos un grado mayor de tolerancia y no cuestionamiento frente a estas prácticas. Esta situación debiera llamarnos a todos a la reflexión, sobre todo considerando los terribles hechos de sangre ocurridos recientemente como es el asesinato de un sacerdote por parte de un joven adepto al satanismo. Con nuestra tradicional doble estándar, por una parte se rasgan vestiduras frente a la presencia de supuestas sectas satánicas y se discrimina o persigue a jóvenes metaleros o góticos, pero por otra parte se alienta profusamente la participación en toda clase de actividades relacionadas con esta fecha, con el apoyo de fuertes compañías de marketing. Deuteronomio 18:10 al 14 dice, no sea hallado en ti quien haga pasar a su hijo o a su hija por el fuego, ni quien practique adivinación, ni agorero, ni sortilejo, ni hechicero, ni encantador, ni adivino, ni mago, ni quien consulte a los muertos, porque es abominación para Jehová cualquiera que hace estas cosas, y por estas abominaciones Jehová tu Dios echa estas naciones delante de ti. Perfecto serás delante de Jehová tu Dios, porque estas naciones que vas a heredar, agoreros y adivinos, oyen, mas a ti no se te ha permitido esto, Jehová tu Dios. So I just said like everything, the history and everything behind it in Spanish, so I'm gonna translate it and then I'm just gonna say it in English for anybody who speaks English. So I'm just reading the same thing but in English. I'm just gonna be translating it. It says, "Do you think Halloween is innocent, is like good, is not like bad? Then you should get to know the origin of it." So I translated it. I'm gonna be reading it. So it says, Origin of Halloween, approximately 300 years before the birth of Christ. The Celts lived in the British Isles, Scandinavia, and Western Europe. They were a society like any other, like any of those of today, but their uses and customs were controlled by a society of pagan priests called the Druids. They worshipped and served Samhain, god of death. Every year on October 31st, they worshipped and served Samhain, god of death. Every year on October 31st, the Druids celebrated the eve of the Celtic New Year in honor of their pagan roots of celebration, or it says the pagan roots of the celebration are attributed to the Celtic celebration of Samhain, of the cult of the dead. It is a tradition prior to the invasion of the Romans, 46 BC, before Christ, in the British Isles, framed in the religion of the Druids in England, France, Germany, and Celtic countries. Although little is known about these celebrations, it seems that the Samhain festivities were most likely celebrated between November 5th and 7th, in the middle of the summer equinox and the winter solstice, with a series of festivities that lasted a week, ending with the Festival of the Dead, which started the Celtic New Year. The Celts believed that night the border between the living and the dead was blurred. To celebrate this event, the Druids lit huge bonfires where they burned crops and animals as a sacrifice to their gods. In addition, the Celts wore costumes mostly made with animal heads and skins to scare away ghosts. At this party, the Druids, as mediums, communicated with their ancestors waiting to be guided in this life towards immortality. The Druids believed that on that particular night, the spirits of the dead returned to their old homes to visit the living. And if the living did not provide food to these evil spirits, all kinds of terrible things could happen to them. If the evil spirits did not receive a feast, a treat, then they would do bad mischief to the living. Trick or treat, treat or deal, origin of trick or treat. The Druid priests went from house to house demanding food and, in some cases, children and virgins to offer in sacrifice to their god Samhain at the festival of death. If they gave them a deal, if they gave what they wanted to them, it was they made a deal. So it was a if they gave them a deal was made, a treat. And they left in peace. If the people of the village did not give the Druids the food or person they demanded, a curse would be cast on the entire house, and according uh, to them, someone from that family would die that year. That was the trick, which is symbolizing trick or treat, like that saying. And then jack o' lantern, the pumpkin that symbolizes Halloween. The Druids carried with them a large turnip which they had hollowed inside with the face carved in the front to represent the demonic spirit from which they received their power and knowledge itself, that would be in charge of executing every curse and illuminating their path. This spirit is called family spirit. The turnip, lit by a candle, inside was a flashlight for the druids at night. They called the spirit of the lantern Jock. When these practices arrived in North America in the 18th and 19th centuries, the colonizers found that the turnips were not so big, so they replaced them with pumpkins. Since then, this representative figure of Halloween was called Jock. the one who lives in the lantern, and later came to be Jack-o'-lantern or Jack's lantern. So, how did these holidays enter the Christian tradition? When Constantine became emperor of Rome, he dictated and declared that Croatonism, no, he declared Christianism as the official religion of the state. Constantine demanded as emperor that everyone became a Christian or face the death penalty. Around the year 609, the Pantheon is transferred from the pagan temple, dedicated to all the gods, to the Christian church, dedicated to the Virgin and the Christian martyrs. The Celtic tradition entered with greater force in the BII century. I'm not sure what that is, but it's like the B and then two, no, three lines. So in that century, when the Roman Church established November 1st as All Saints' Day, in English, All Saints' Day, and previously All Hallows' Day, from which later derives the word Halloween, which comes from All Hallows' Eve, which means precisely All Saints' Night. However, this European tradition spread more throughout the world throughout through the United States with technological development from the 4th century. The Church of Syria devoted a day to celebrating all martyrs. 3 centuries later, Pope Boniface IB 615 transformed a Roman temple dedicated to all the gods, Pantheon, into a Christian temple dedicating it to all the saints, to all those who had preceded us in faith. The feast in honor of All Saints initially was celebrated on May 13. It was transferred by Pope Gregory III, 741 to November 1st, the day of the dedication of the Chapel of All Saints in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Later in 840, Pope Gregory IB ordered the Feast of All Saints to be celebrated universally. As a major feast, it had its solemn Vigilia, October 31st. This vigil was called by the English All Hallows Even, All Saints Eve. Here finds original its origin the term Halloween. On the other hand, since the year 998, Saint Odilon, abbot, the abbot of the monastery of Cluny in the south of France, had added the celebration of November 2nd as a feast to pray for the souls of the faithful who had passed away. So it was called the Feast of the Filial Dead, which spread in France and then throughout Europe. The churches were flooded with unconverted pagans. They were pagans forced to join the Catholic Church or lose their lives for challenging the emperor. The newly added brought all their pagan practices and ideas to the church, including the Samhain festival, and demanded that this festival continue to be part of their lives. Since the church had failed to eliminate the pagan practices of the people, it decided to use some of them in its own way, especially this ritual of the Samhain, like that pagan celebration to that god that they had. October 31st. Have its festival on October 31st. Also, oh no, it says that they wanted to have the ritual of on October 31st. Have its festival on October 31st because November 1st was a saint day. So the Catholic Church was like, okay, you can keep celebrating it on October 31st, because November 1st is a saint day where you can't like do nothing bad or commit sin. Like you can't celebrate or do anything else besides that. Celebrate that. In the 9th century, the Pope instituted a new day to be celebrated by the Church on November 1st, calling it All Hallows Day. This day celebrates all the martyrs and saints of the Catholic Church, and October 31st became their eve. Now people could have their festival on October 31st because November 1st was a holy day. It was a holy day. That's what they said. Popular culture called the celebration the All Hallowmas. And with the passage of time to the afternoon before November 1st, it became known as All Hallowmas Eve, evolving little by little as All Hallows Eve, All Hallowed Eve, All Hallow Halloween evening, and finally Halloween. But nothing changed. Pagan observance continued on October 31st, and the Christian holiday was observed on November 1st. The people did not celebrate their pagan rites and worship of demons for this new vesper established by the church. The Halloween holiday was introduced in the United States by the first Irish immigrants, a people of Celtic origin. In that country, it became popular and quickly spread to the rest of the world, also becoming a lucrative business. Tolerance to Satanism. As you can see, there is nothing nice about this type of celebration in which it is intended to involve children massively, surely with the purpose of developing in them a greater degree of tolerance and non-questioning in the face of these practices. This situation should call us all to reflection, especially considering the terrible acts of blood that occurred recently, such as the murder of a priest by a young follower of Satanism. With our traditional double standard, on the one hand, clothes are torn in the face of the presence of alleged satanic sects, and young metalheads or goths are discriminated against or persecuted. But on the other hand, participation in all kinds of activities related to this date is profusely encouraged with the support of strong marketing campaigns. Deuteronomy 18:10-14 says, there is no one who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, nor who practices. Actually, I'm just gonna search it up because obviously this is like a translating up, and I might say some stuff wrong and like might translate it a little bit wrong or not exactly the way it says it. So I'm just gonna search out the verse and just tell you it. So I'm reading Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 to 14. But I'm gonna read it in NLT version, which is the New Living Translation version, but there's also the King James version or New International version or whatever version you like to read. You can search it up. It's just the same, but in other words, I guess, like more to understand it better. So it's Deuteronomy 18, verses 10 to 14. It says, for example, never sacrifice your son or daughter as a burnt offering, and do not let your people practice fortune telling or use sorcery or interpret omens or engage in witchcraft or cast spells or function as mediums or psychics or call forth the spirits of the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. It is because the other nations have done these detestable things that the Lord your God will drive them out ahead of you. But you must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you are about to displace consult sorcerers and fortune tellers, but the Lord your God forbids you to do such things. So that would be it for this video. It's about to be 30 minutes long, but I felt like it was very important that I told you this information and that you can look it up yourself, that you can look at the origin yourself and do your research and look at the Bible, most of all, and see that this is not something that is good or innocent, is not like I really want you to just reflect and think about if you really want to be exposing your family and your children and just let all these demonic spirits and entities to go into your home and into your life and just open those spiritual doors that are like really bad, really negative. And just think about it twice because if you're gonna dress up your children and take them out trick or treating, you're exposing them to all these satanic rituals and all the things that happen on this day. You can also search up testimonies from Satanists or ex-Satanists that used to be satanic and worship Satan, and you can see that they say that even if you think that what you're doing is innocent and that you're doing nothing bad, you are still participating, and therefore you're like being part of the rituals and all the satanic stuff going on that day and all the evil stuff. So just be really careful and think about it twice and really reflect on everything that I just said in this video. And it's your decision, but from a Christian who used to be Catholic and who used to be in the world before and didn't know about God and everything, and who now knows that God is real and that Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life, um, well, you go ahead and make your choice, but I'm just really encouraging you to think about it twice and do your own research because I'm not making up lies. I just wanted to inform people, and if this reaches anybody and it changes their minds, then that's good for me because I'm informing people and telling people the truth. So that's what's important. And well, just be safe and be really careful because there's a lot of dark and spiritual and bad stuff going on in Halloween and in this whole month and in this whole participation and celebration. It's bad. So I would encourage you not to participate in it in any way, shape, or form. And just protect your children and pray for them and just pray for your family and your household and your house in general. Just pray over your children and over your families because it's really dark stuff happening. And as you can see in the recent years, it's been getting worse where they are now putting drugs and they're putting weapons, like they're putting blades inside candies and your children can get hurt. And that's all also satanic um rituals where there if a child dies from that, then that's a sacrifice for Satan and for all these spirits, evil spirits and everything. So just think about it, and if you continue to celebrate it, then I just pray that one day God can open your eyes to see all the negative and evil and demonic spirits and everything and the spiritual world and the origin behind it. And if this does impact you and you decide not to celebrate it, then I promise you you're making the best choice of your life because um you don't want to expose yourself and your family and your children most of all to all these negative demonic spirits and entities. I promise you, you do not want to be giving your children a sacrifice to Satan and everything. So don't participate, don't dress up your children, don't buy candy, don't go to parties, and don't take them out that night to get candy. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching and God bless you guys. That would be it. I really just hope you guys can reflect and bye. See you in the next video.